What was ruined by rich people? There used to be a really nice big park in the center of the city where I live. Everyone would go there. It was a nice open space. Take your kids, take your dogs, enjoy the fresh air. Then some people from the rich part of town along the edges of the park decided they didn't like the noise coming from the park and pulled some bullshit to buy it out and walled it off so you couldn't go to the park unless you lived in that specific neighborhood anymore. The worst part is a ton of money was spent when they first bought it building it up, adding fountains and children's play areas and redoing the flower beds, and then no money or attention was given to it again and the whole place fell into disrepair. So now even if you live in the neighborhood you can't go there because everything is falling apart and overgrown. So the Ashholes took the really nice park from everyone else and then neglected it until it became a shithole in the middle of the city. Concerts. You can't even buy a beer at one for what a general admission ticket used to cost and people still pay for it. 80s and 90s cars. The market is super hot right now and all the rich guys are buying them up. Sorta like 50s and 60s cars in the 90s. Cheap foods, like chicharrones or tuétano. I'm from Mexico. When I was a kid, tuétano was something that were even gift in meat's market. Now they sell you a damn bone in meat price or even higher. The same with chicharron, that was really cheap to buy, but with rich people discovering how good it is, now is impossible. All places up the prices because rich people buy it at high rates, and don't know what the heck they are shopping anyway. Everything really, mofos have more money than common sense and jack up the prices for the rest of us. My hometown, a lot of the long-time locals here are working class and it used to have a bigger sense of community. In the recent decade rich people have decided that it's a cute small town with pretty scenery to buy a second home to rent out to other rich people who want to visit. Many of the long-time residents here are struggling to keep/find homes. Meanwhile rich people who just discovered this small town can easily buy a home or rent an overpriced Airbnb. Literally disgusting here now. Why is pork shoulder and oxtail so expensive? It literally used to be the parts nobody wanted. Housing flipping for sure, looking to potentially buy at the moment, and everything has been fitted with new gray kitchens and modern lighting etc., which isn't my style. I may be in the minority here, but means paying way more for a house and then having the job of ripping everything out. So many things, but I'll say trucks. Once upon a time, a humble working class vehicle for people who need to be able to do things themselves. Now they're all luxury vehicles with massive margins, unaffordable to anyone who needs them to do real work. Sailboats. Used to be you could on a working man's salary get a decent day sailing boat that you could go out with for the day with enough cabin space and amenities to live aboard for a long weekend, maybe a week. Like the McGregor 26. But nobody makes mere sailboats anymore, they make yachts. Expensive, over-designed yachts. The easy answer, everything. The harder answer, interclass solidarity and quality of life. They've worked so hard to separate the have-nots into their own little groups. We're too busy fighting each other instead of taking the fight, politically speaking, to the rich and the 1%. You have more in common with your fellow man than you ever will with a Bill Gates or Elon Musk. I'm going to just say it, as it's the season Christmas. Corporations really did a number on Christmas. Plastic junky decorating starting as early as Halloween, really dated irritating songs playing in every store starting November, all the consuming and now this buy gifts for yourself narrative. The more you can ignore all this the more meaningful the holidays are. Back in the 90s, my family moved into a development in a mountain town. The road wasn't even paved when we started building the house. For most of my formative years, it was great. There were bike paths through the woods, and some bridges over the lakes, a gas station with a shitty pizza place, lakes you couldn't swim in or use motor boats on, and there would be block parties every summer. It was a middle-class development with some upper and lower middle class as well. Then the houses started to go up and the rich folks moved in. They blocked off the bike trails when they built their homes near them, complained about the usual shenanigans the adults and kids got into, capture the flag at 9 p.m. Nope, not anymore, the coups will get called. Then they ruin the block parties by moving them to their cul-de-sac and ending them early. Number 2, hamburgers cooked by drunk dads who snuck off and got stoned with the teens. No firing the cannon my granddad built, no water balloon fight, and instead of DJs, we got the joy of music from their 3 convertibles tuned to WSUK. Also, the neighbors that were cool before started becoming sycophants. Oh, and they half-funded an effort to make the lake swimmable, ruined the fishing and never finished, so no swimming or fishing. The economies and well-being of natives of a crap ton of islands. I'm talking Hawaii, places in the Caribbean, etc. Becoming economically dependent on tourist culture that is created and ultimately profited on by rich foreigners sucks. PPL can argue about whether or not their trip to these places are helping the economy or not, but what's undeniable is that the people creating these tourist economies don't give a single shit about the natives as they bulldoze through sacred sites and native neighborhoods in order to hand out culturally inaccurate hula skirts at 3-star hotels. Clothing brands: Carhartt, Dickies, Levi's and many more. Like, why did a Dickies t-shirt go from $15 to almost $40 in a few years? Old school ski mountains with family vibes and stoner lifties rocking to music. We always watched those silly ski patrol movies about the big corporations coming in and making them yuppieville, and then it happened. Theme parks. Gone are the days when everyone was equal and you all had to queue, regardless of your income. And even until recently, some theme parks gave fast passes periodically throughout the day. Now if you've got deep pockets you can queue jump, making your day a little better and everyone else's a little worse. Collecting. In the past few years, the price of little collectibles and things of that sort have gone insanely high. Cards, action figures, you name it, just look up any sub for a hobby and you'll see people dropping their entire salary in one day. Instagram. When it first launched, we were content to post pic of our average sandwich that we made at home. Or a mundane selfie. Nothing major. Studies show that since the wealthy started sharing their lives on IG, our collective standard of living changed. We're exposed to yacht parties, expertly organized and color-coded walk-in closets, high-end facials and party-planned gender reveals. We've elevated our expectations for everything. Edit, for those saying, just don't use it, it's influenced every aspect of society whether you're on it or not. Collectively, society aspires to a more flashier existence. Instagram has inspired new aesthetic-forward businesses like restaurants and coffee shops, vacation resorts, home decor and types of homes, gyms and gym bodies. Fashion. Any hobby where there's potential profit. Now you've got dickheads like the Logan Paul ruining Pokemon cards. Not because they're into them because they like Pokemon, but because they read the stories about the rare cards and just hammered their endless piles of cash into getting everything. Same with those asshole sheiks with massive comic book collections. They don't give a fuck about comics. They just collect popular valuable stuff. YouTuber Carl Jobst had a good video on this for vintage video games. Basically, a new grader named Wada Games came out of nowhere, claimed to be the lead in the industry for rating inbox games. Entirely false, multiple others already existed, and the owner had zero history. Any game Wada listed was sold by Heritage Auction House for over $1 million. You used to be able to get a new in-box Mario Bros. NES game for like $1,000 if someone was selling. Now they're millions apiece. Until they got sued. Very much a plainly obvious scam.